Welcome to your Thursday edition of Afternoon Idol, the New Year's Eve edition, or as the Ramones would say, 2020, 24 hours to go. Well, we're about, let's say, 13 hours left at this point. My name is Andrew. I am a certified mindfulness meditation coach in the Unified Mindfulness System, Level 2. You can find out more about at unifiedmindfulness.com. I am many things, but I am not a mental health professional or licensed therapist. Today is Thursday, and on Thursdays, we take the format of the Afternoon Idol and switch it up. So we're normally doing contrast sit. So we're taking two techniques and we're comparing the two techniques. And in essence, we're keeping one of those techniques pretty much the same all the time, and that's the just sitting quality that you get in the technique do nothing. As the name would suggest, there's really no technique there, and that in and of itself is a technique. And then we have a something technique that's usually pulled from the ultra techniques, or that's where gets its techniques from Shinzen Young. But today, this is the absolute most basic of meditation techniques. And so, I don't know that we really know where we get this other than perhaps Big Sid himself. And that's going to be breath counting. In essence, we're going to count the breaths. There's a few different ways we can do that, so we can play around with that. So we're going to start out with do something, or I'm sorry, already forgotten. We're going to start out with do nothing in place of what we usually do. So we'll begin there, and then we'll end with our something. And the something again today is going to be a breath-focused meditation. And so you are welcome to make this a 100% do nothing sit by just letting my instructions be in the background and kind of allowing the continuity of the sit to just be allowing whatever happens to happen. That's what we do and do nothing. Or you can take up the prompts that I'll offer around focusing on the breath. And also I will just offer, if focusing on the breath is something that's uncomfortable for you, then you can take this as an opportunity to substitute whatever technique, your home base, or whatever anchor you prefer focusing on. It's totally fine. So in the something part at the end today, again, we switch it up on Thursdays, we can play around with a few counting strategies. So what we'll do is what I call snake counting. So we're going to count up from 1 to 10, and then at 10, we'll turn around and go back. So we can choose where to count. So we can count, we can do repetition count, where we breathe in 1, we breathe out 1. That's one style. But I like to do the counting on the exhale. And so that's usually where we're going to begin to have our attention wander off, is on the exhale. That downward motion that is so pleasant. That's when we kind of begin to ride away, or often maybe the case. Maybe that's not always available for others, but that's one thing I've noticed. And so I've done a lot of breath counting meditation early in my practice. And so the supportive quality is what we're getting out of the counting. If you're wondering why the heck are we counting? So we're not trying to put ourselves to sleep like counting sheep, but we're trying to support the attention. And how we're getting that is the brain will usually figure out that we've gone too far. So if you count to 11, then you know you've gone too far. Or if you forget which number you're on, you'll know that you've lost clarity and you're not able to track where you're at. And then that's just an opportunity for us to begin again. So if that happens, start at 1. No big deal. Avoid beating yourself up or making a big deal out of it. And just begin again at 1. And it's no issue. And just begin that over and over and over. And why is it no issue? Because in knowing that you've lost your attention, you now are you're bringing an awareness, you're being in tune with that. And so each time you notice that you're not clear or that you're not concentrated, you're strengthening that skill. And so anytime we sit in a technique, we can think of us as training three skills: concentration, clarity, and equanimity. And those three things come together to form the ability for us to offer mindful awareness. So thank you again for joining me on this New Year's Eve. So I invite you to adopt a posture that helps you be both relaxed and alert, upright, dignified, maybe even stable, like a majestic mountain, if you will. Each of us holds tension in the body in different places, in different ways. So as we begin, just checking in with where you may hold tension, see if you're bracing or there's any sort of holding on to things. And often, but not always the case, when we notice that tension will melt or subside. And if it doesn't, that's our first opportunity of this sit to bring a no big deal quality. Flexing our inner smoothness, as Jeff Warren says. And before we shift to the first part of our sit, the do nothing part, doing a few deliberate, conscious breaths, if possible, in through the nose, out through the nose. Our aim is slow and low for our tempo, leaning on the wisdom of the Beastie Boys. Breathing in slow allows us to fill the lungs, the lower part of the lungs. And in doing to the nervous system that it's okay to release, break, and shift into a rest and relaxed mode. So as we set out here, we're shifting into the stance of allowing, giving the attention free range, roam wherever it would like. So explore, do nothing. So if you're new to meditation, you might be frustrated or puzzled with this. What do you mean, do nothing? So in this stance, we're allowing the attention to go wherever it wants. Putting that another way is we let whatever happens happen. And we're not actively monitoring, but if we notice that we're trying to shape or control our attention, that we're trying to put into action a technique, we let that go. So we're not actively monitoring, but if we happen to notice, we let it go. And if we let it go, say 2 or 3 times, then we can think of that as part of the whatever that's happening. So explore this a bit more. Good. So we're at a decision point here. You can remain in this open, allowing stance of do nothing. And allow what I'm about to say to fade into the background. Just be another noise, another activation of hear out. Just letting that be. Or you can shift to a home-based practice if focusing on the breath is not something pleasant or available for you. So, no judgment, totally up to you. And for those that want to explore the breath counting practice, simply are counting from 1 to 10 and then down from 10 to 1. Breathing in, breathing out 1, breathing in, breathing out 2, breathing in, breathing out 3, up to 10, and then we turn around and come back down to 1. If you get to 11 or 12 or 57, you've overshot. And again, no big deal. Just start again at 1. If you've forgotten the number that you're on, no big deal. Just start back at 1. If your eyes have been closed, I invite them. Moving around slowly and reconnecting to your surroundings. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for spending 20 plus minutes with me. Thank you for getting yourself to this seat and being available to practice. So if you've not done breath counting practice before, it is often used as a way to generate what's referred to, at least in old school Buddhism, as access concentration. And it's usually, if you're going to do something like this, you would put it at the front end of a sit. So maybe you do the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes in breath counting, and that allows you to get one pointed awareness and to stabilize, and then you get supportive attention, and then you can shift into a practice that's more in the flavor of insight practice or something like that, or potentially doing that at the front end of a loving kindness sit. So the reason why I did it today, even though it's at the end of the sit, which is normally where you would not necessarily put it, although maybe for you right now you're in a nice, chill, stable, calm state, maybe. I did that because it's New Year's Eve, and so I think of New Year's Eve as being very much a countdown kind of day. So I thought breath counting would be pairing for that. So, all right, I will see you next in 2021. I think we're all quite excited about leaving 2020 behind. Thank you again, and have a good Thursday.